cash on the spot. Play it against sports at 48th and Vine.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Hey, Husker Nation, Matt Davison here with 1890. It's an exciting time to be a Husker fan, and to keep that momentum going, we need your help. Nebraska's always been a leader in college athletics, and we're doing the same through name, image, and likeness. NIL is a unique opportunity for every Husker fan to have a direct impact on the success of our programs. Through 1890, 100% of your contribution goes to the student athletes. So go to 1890nebraska.com, choose your sport, become a member, and help the Huskers recruit and retain the best. Go Big Red.
Ironhide Construction is hiring. They're looking for hardworking, self-motivated individuals who are team players. Ironhide Construction has openings for an experienced project manager, estimator, apprentice, skilled laborer, and erector or installer. They will train the right people and make sure you understand the position and requirements. At Ironhide Construction, it's own it, be honest, and do it right. Apply today and learn more about their other benefits at ironhideconstruction.com, where they're committed to you every step of the way. You don't think about your roof very often, but you should never take it for granted. Roofing Service Company takes every measure to provide you with the highest quality roofing solution. Whether it's a new roof installation, roof repair, or a re-roofing project, their overall goal is to provide you with a pleasant experience and a long-lasting roof. If you have a need for siding or gutters, they're your place too. Visit roofingservicecompany.com for more info today. Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
High schoolers, unleash your creativity and learn about potential careers in broadcasting at the Digital Expressions Media Camp. Have fun, make friends, and get hands-on experience with video and radio production June 9th through the 14th at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Scholarships are available from the Nebraska Broadcasters Association, and spots are limited. Learn more at digitalexpressionscamp.com. That's digitalexpressionscamp.com.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
Nobody goes to McDonald's more than you. Nobody.
No,
every meal,
I
every call. I mean,
don't go every
meal.
Every morning you're there.
Every morning goes to
every
McDonald's
single
every day.
I do it. Oh, I go every day.
Is it?
Yeah,
how many
that's
times?
what I mean. That's a lot.
How many?
Sometimes
I'm saying in the next year I go 9 times. I
That's
go
high
9.
for me. I'm not going 9
Oh,
times
I mean,
to
7
McDonald's.
times a week. 7
Yeah.
times a week.
That's what I mean.
Yes,
But there's a lot of
every
times
day.
though you go more than once a day.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm telling you. So it's
But I just
500.
get coffee.
But you go 500 times a year. That's a lot. 500 times a year. The most I'm at is 9. I'm at 9. Jake's at 4, and you're at 500.
I say 4 to 5 for myself.
So I said 9. You said
Put
500.
it that way.
It is. Just do the math.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket. This is Adam Carriker on The Ticket.
Position right of the quarterback, out of the shotgun, 1st and 20. Jailbreak screen in the air. It is tipped. It is intercepted by Carriker at the Missouri 21-yard line.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, 8-year NFL vet and All-American defensive lineman Adam Carriker.
Shotgun snap to Everett. He's got the left arm going, and now he's got a whole lot of Carriker who rips him down inside the 25-yard line.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here's your host, Adam Carriker.
Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show. Checking the pulse of Husker Nation, brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a mega show, not like what I do during the season when I interview a current player and give my preview and prediction to the upcoming show on Saturday, but this is a two-part show. Okay, the first part of this show, now I'm going to give you a heads up before the second part of this show, because I'm going to give a health update on myself, because I've been asked a ton lately. It's very random, very much appreciated. But I thought I would just, since people keep asking me over the past 2 weeks more frequently than has happened in quite a while, figured I'd just give an update. That's going to be part two. I know not everybody's interested in that. People come here to talk not just Husker football, but Nebraska sports. But I'll give you a heads up before I do that. For those who are more interested in the sports football part of this, that's cool, no problem. But part one is the top three potentially most eye-catching things to watch for a Nebraska spring game on a Saturday, and I got a bonus one for you as well. Now, real quick, the spring game is, admittedly, the most overanalyzed practice of the year. Now, I'll be honest with you. My first spring game going into my redshirt freshman season, okay, I had a great spring. I went against Richie Incognito every day in practice, and people are like, when did you know you could play at a high level? When I could hold my own versus that guy. And I held my own. He's a great player, and he was tough, and he was hard-nosed and everything. But I held my own, and that's when I knew I could play. The spring game rolls around. There's like 30, 40,000 people there. Like not as many as we get at spring games nowadays, and I played horrible. It was bad. Okay, in fact, I kind of got in the doghouse with Pelini, who was the D coordinator. Okay, Jamrog, who was the D-line coach, and Solich Smidge, who was the head coach. And I had to work my way back out in fall camp because I really struggled in that game. Okay, it was the first time being in that type of atmosphere for someone like myself, being a young player, trying to earn playing time. So while this is the most overanalyzed practice of the year, it absolutely has merit, especially for young guys who are being put in this situation for the first time. Okay, now if you're looking forward, like I am, to seeing who makes some plays, because I'll tell you what, my sophomore year, I had a great spring game. I had earned the starting job up to that point. I went out and I had 2 sacks in the first half of that spring game, and then the starters kind of chilled the second half, so to speak. And that's when I knew, I'm like, all right, I'm starting this fall. I mean, we got summer conditioning, fall camp, back when you could do 2-a-days, etc. But I'm starting this fall. So the transition from my first spring game to my second spring game was huge for me. So the spring games have always mattered to me. They are the most overanalyzed practice of the year, but for young players, they absolutely matter. The spring game was something I actually always looked forward to every year as a player, and I truly enjoyed. Okay, but if you're like me and you're looking forward to seeing potentially who steps up, who makes plays, who excites people, especially the young players, okay, just like I am in Nebraska's spring game on Saturday, smash that like button. And as always, okay, if you don't want to miss any content here on the Carriker Chronicles, you just want to support the channel, which we greatly appreciate. I want to say thank you for everyone who has supported the Carriker Chronicles. When we went on our own about 14 months ago, 2 Februaries ago, we don't exist still without you fine folks at home. So thank you very much. And if you so inclined, hit that subscribe button as well. All right, here are the top 3 potentially eye-catching things to watch for at the Husker spring game on Saturday. And it's interesting because I'm going to talk about Texas for just a millisecond here, and I'm going to try to not throw up. Okay, but all over social media was Arch Manning's passes at the Texas spring game. I'll leave out the fact that the receivers were wide open and they really have bad DBs or they just have busted coverage. Arch Manning is going to be a great player. I think they were a little overexcited. In my humble opinion, an anti-Texas attitude. I'll readily admit that. But it got Texas fans all sorts of excited. And so for me, I'm looking for legit things and legit reasons to be excited. But here are some of the 3 potentially eye-catching things that could happen this Saturday spring game. And I'm going to start at number 3. Number 3 is the wide receivers. Our wide receiver play was not great last year. Pass protection was not great last year. The quarterback struggled a lot last year. It all was connected, though. It wasn't just on the quarterbacks. We have plenty of new faces in our wide receiver room this year. Matt Rule has called Jamal Banks a difference maker. And I've even said Isaiah Nair, depending on how he bounces back from his knee injury that he suffered at Texas, he potentially has the highest ceiling of any wide receiver this fall when you account for experience and talent. There's other very athletic wide receivers in that room. You got Jalen Lloyd, Jaden Doss, you got Malachi Coleman, all young guys. Alex Bullock will be a factor as well this year. And there's other guys outside of the 6 I just mentioned who could contribute, potentially make an impact, but contribute this fall in that wide receiver room. So regardless of who sits or plays in the spring game this Saturday, because some guys are going to play more than others, even if those guys are starters, et cetera, that's fine. Regardless of who sits or plays this Saturday during the spring game, our wide receivers had such a tough year last year. We need badly, and I'm curious to see who it is that steps up for Nebraska out of our new faces and even some of our returning players. Okay, because they are very athletic at the wide receiver. I'm also wide receiver spot this year, and I'm also curious to see how they do versus probably who are going to be our two starting DBs, at least if we had a real game this Saturday, Tommy Hill and Bly Hill. Tommy, one of the most athletic guys on the entire team. Top 5, top 3, potentially. Bly Hill, one of the most underestimated new faces in the entire transfer portal class, recruiting class. He's a 6'3" corner who's impressed all spring. So I'm curious to see how they do versus these wide receivers. Number 2, the one-on-one matchups. Not just wide receiver versus DBs, but defensively and offensively, the schemes are going to be very basic, very blasé, which is okay. We don't want to show anything. I support that. But it comes down, when you're not blitzing and you're not being fancy, it comes down to one-on-one matchups, especially along the offensive and defensive lines. I'm curious about the one-on-one matchups and the offensive and defensive lines. The offensive line is 7 guys who started games in their career, 152 total starts in their career, versus the defensive line, which is projected to be the strength of the entire team. Who's going to win those one-on-one matchups? When I was at the Senior Bowl, the scouts all gathered around the one-on-one pass rush drill. When we had scouts showing up my junior and senior year to evaluate players and teammates that were on my team for potential NFL draft stock, it was the one-on-one matchups, especially the pass pro, one-on-one matchups, O-line, D-line. That's what I'm excited to see. How does our O-line do versus our D-line? How good can our D-line really be? Those one-on-one matchups up front, especially pass blocking. And the guys who can win one-on-one matchups, they will get drafted higher, and they will raise their draft stock faster. There's no faster way to raise your draft stock than winning a one-on-one matchup as an offensive, defensive lineman in pass protection, whether it's 11-on-11 or one-on-one in a drill, or if it turns into one-on-one in an 11-on-11 scrimmage like it will Saturday. All right, number 1, what else could it be? The quarterbacks. Of course it's the quarterbacks. What else could it be? All right, who stands out? Dylan Raiola. How good does he look? Does he have any wow moments? But what matters to me more than anything else, can he do the basic, simple little things that we struggled to do last year and just run the offense? That's what I want to know out of Dylan. Number 2, Daniel Kalen. How close is he to Dylan? Is there separation? If there is, how much is it? How little is it? Is there any at all? I'm going to compare those two exactly to each other for obvious reasons, because their skill sets are similar. They're battling for the starting job. Don't overlook Danny Dimes, Heinrich Harburg. Matt Rule has said that his throwing is significantly improved over last year. And I've said it a million times. When I watched him as a true freshman, nobody got more reps in that practice outside of Adrian Martinez. Nobody got more reps in that practice when he was a true freshman, the day that I really paid attention to him, than him. And that includes other guys who were in that quarterback room who ended up starting for us before Heinrich ever did. Okay, they were starting while Heinrich wasn't even in the quarterback room for an entire season, which I think hurt his development a ton. Not even getting reps at all, not watching film, not doing any of that. He wasn't even in the quarterback room for an entire year. That set him back, which is probably why he digressed so much in his throwing, which really isn't even his fault. My point is, the kid can throw. If he's worked on his throwing motion and he's actually been given a chance to improve, I believe Matt Rule that he is throwing better, but I'm also curious to see what he does with his feet. I'm curious. He's the one quarterback who is known for making plays with his feet. All right, one honorable mention spot, linebacker. All right, Syracuse transfer Stephon Thompson was expected to be the starter when he transferred here. And he still could potentially be one of the top 5 new impact players, like I mentioned in the previous show I just did, but he's not there yet. He came in a bit overweight. He's got to get there. I want to see how he looks Saturday. Can he get there and be the starter by fall? If not, keep your eye out for freshman linebacker. You've heard his name probably a million times in other places, Vincent Shavers. 220 pounds, quick, fast, athletic. This is the most athletic group of young linebackers we've had here at the University of Nebraska in quite a while. And I'm excited to see how they can play, especially Vincent Shavers, a guy who was committed to Miami. They already had a bunch of linebackers, so we got him. Thank you very much. Could a freshman start at linebacker? We might have a true freshman start at quarterback, so why not linebacker if it fits? All right, real quick, I want to give a shout out to DPS Concrete Construction. This show is brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. As you know, they're your local concrete experts. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Now, this is that part where I'm going to give a little bit of a health update. So about 18 months ago, about a year and a half ago, my heart went crazy. It was just boom, 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 beating like a million miles an hour, and like a complete idiot with a football player's mentality in life, which doesn't always make sense. I ignored it for 3 months. just going crazy at night, during the day, working out, whatever, just going crazy all the time. I have a speaking gig in Nebraska and I'm driving home about 1, 2 in the morning. I call my parents and I finally tell somebody else. And my mom's a nurse of 44 years. My parents were not very happy with me. You need to go talk and see a frickin' doctor. So of course I do. They say I have AFib. And my heart has been going crazy for so long. I use the word crazy, that's just how it felt. Basically, my ejection fraction, which was supposed to be, the typical ejection fraction is 55 to 60%. It was down to barely around 20%. Basically, I was in heart failure. They said, you're at high risk for blood clots, for a stroke, and you're technically in heart failure. But that's when they did what's called a cardioversion. They knock you out. Boom, they literally shock your heart back into normal rhythm. The first time they did it, it didn't work. It wouldn't go through all this muscle, what used to be muscle. So they had to do it again. I had gigantic burns on my chest from them doing it again. They had to put a weighted sandbag on my chest and press down as hard as they could. And then the second time it worked. So over the past 18 months, I haven't said much about this. For whatever reason, the past 2 weeks, I've had, oh my God, like 10, 15, 20 people ask me about a health update in my heart. And I'm just like, man, first of all, thank you. I appreciate it. It's so random, but I do appreciate it. But here's the health update. I've seen the cardiologist twice, actually 3 times since, checkups, updates. I got an Apple Watch so I can do an EKG, keep track of my pulse. My heart still goes fast. So they had me wear like a heart monitor thing for I was supposed to wear it for a week, but my skin broke out, long story short. And so for 4 days, then I had to take it off because of my skin getting mad. Basically, my heart goes fast sometimes. It'll go up to 200 beats a minute, but it's not for very long. And the doctor said, it's abnormal, but it's not abnormally concerning. So you just need to monitor it. I need to go in and see him every 6 months to 9 months or whatever, and just stay on top of it. So my heart isn't quite normal, kind of fitting for me, but it's not concerning. I just need to be smart and stay on top of it. I want to thank you fine folks who have asked me how I'm doing, and there's a quick update. Here are my questions for you fine folks. Let me know your answer in the comments below. Number 1, what's the biggest thing you're watching for in the spring game this Saturday? Number 2, which quarterback do you predict will stand out the most during the spring game? And number 3, who will be the biggest surprise player for the Huskers on Saturday during the spring game? Check out CarrikerChronicles.com. It's where all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true. Go Big Red, and always remember to throw the ball.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and our annual spring sales event is now underway. We have absolutely huge savings right now at Koppel. New Sierras and new Silverados have a double whammy. Choose from APR starting at 1.9% or discounts over $9,000. Yes, that's right, 1.9% APR or discounts of over $9,000. So please take that short money-saving drive down 144th Street just south of the interstate, or check us out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All deals with approved credit.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red.
Ever stare at the Hog Wild menu and feel like you just can't make up your mind because it all looks so good? Well, when I want a little bit of everything, I get a little bit of everything on Hog Wild Smokestack Sandwich. On a butter-toasted bun, we pile on our hickory smoked beef brisket and juicy hot links. The hard part is choosing between fresh curly fries, classic baked beans, or coleslaw on the side. Order online at GoHogWild.com. Hog Wild Pit Barbecue, 3210 Cornhusker Highway in Lincoln.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Buckle up and hang on. This is going to be a good one.
The fans of Kansas Speedway know how to have a good time. One that celebrates fantastic finishes and family-friendly facilities. Trading paint.
We got feuding
and tailgating tradition. Burnouts, beer, and barbecue. Oh, it'll for sure be a good time, and you are all invited. NASCAR weekend at Kansas Speedway, May 4th and 5th. Get your tickets now at kansasspeedway.com.
Ironhide Construction is hiring. They're looking for hardworking, self-motivated individuals who are team players. Ironhide Construction has openings for an experienced project manager, estimator, apprentice, skilled laborer, and erector or installer. They will train the right people and make sure you understand the position and requirements. At Ironhide Construction, it's own it, be honest, and do it right. Apply today and learn more about their other benefits at ironhideconstruction.com, where they're committed to you every step of the way. You don't think about your roof very often, but you should never take it for granted. Roofing Service Company takes every measure to provide you with the highest quality roofing solution. Whether it's a new roof installation, roof repair, or a re-roofing project, their overall goal is to provide you with a pleasant experience and a long-lasting roof. If you have a need for siding or gutters, they're your place too. Visit roofingservicecompany.com for more info today.
Do you need motivation to get to the gym on the weekend or even in general? Tune into the Movement Hour each Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. Movement Academy owner Robert Kuhlman will host the show as he introduces new ways to stay in shape. The Movement Hour every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 a.m. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Spring sports are here and it's time to upgrade your equipment. But don't go rushing to your big box store. Play It Again Sports is your place to go for all spring sports equipment for baseball, softball, golf, and disc golf. Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine. Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
When you're in New York, Nick, in New York, I mean, you're talking about, you see mafioso types. You go into a restaurant and you would literally eat, hey, come on over here. You know, they you know, I don't know how to say it. I don't got the accent, but they would say, come, Strick, come here, come over. Have a drink on me. And what are you going to do? Say no?
You not say
you
no
don't
to that?
say no to the drink. You don't say no.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. You're listening to Adam Carriker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Adam Carriker on The Ticket. I got a special guest, but right before I bring him on, just a reminder, you can always check out the Carriker Chronicles at carrikerchronicles.com and on the YouTube page as well. And as always, you can send in your questions, thoughts, concerns, or otherwise throughout this fine program. Send them in to Zach as well while I'm talking to Zach Weger to 402-464-5685. Now it's time to bring on my special guest. He's a 3-time first-team All-Big 8 performer, 2-time All-American, and a first-team unanimous All-American in 1994, UPI Lineman of the Year, Outland Trophy winner, national champ, all in that same season, 1994 as well. Second-round pick and played 12 years in the NFL. Mr. Zach Weger, how you doing, my friend?
Geez, Adam, you sure make me feel good on a Monday.
Hey man, I just look up and I write down what because the internet's always accurate, but I write down what Wikipedia tells me, and then I research it. Dude, it's 100% true. You're one of the best to ever do it. And so it leads to my first question, because last year there were some things the offensive line did really, really well. Obviously, there's always things to improve on. So my question for you right off the top is, what, in your opinion, did the offensive line do well last year, and what's the biggest thing they could potentially improve on going into this fall?
I think the best thing they did, I actually went to a practice and actually was asked by Dominic to give my comments a couple times, which I appreciated. And, to me, it was, I gave him a little talk, and it was all about aggressiveness. All my coaches were always, everyone makes a mistake in a game, goes the wrong way, hits the wrong guy, does something. But usually if you do it going 100 miles an hour, trying to knock somebody out, you get mostly forgiven. And so that was probably the biggest part of it. I just think that they played much more aggressively and didn't back down from some teams that had some really good players, obviously, in the Big Ten. So I think, I always tell people that effort gets you a long ways. And I think they played physical with effort, which is frankly the two most important things in offensive line. When I talked to our line, I was like, well, why can't we be the aggressor? They always act like offensive linemen catch and defensive linemen are aggressors. Well, I was like, no, we're the aggressors. I mean, we're the ones that know where the play's going. So why aren't we not the aggressors? So I think they did a good job with that. I think technically they still need to work on techniques and things that, take years to master, which I think they're getting to be technical, better players too. Strength, conditioning, all those types of things. But probably the biggest thing they need to go for is confidence. Someone asked me, I don't know, a couple of years ago, well, what's wrong with the line? I said, well, when you're down on the 5-yard line and the coach chooses to pass 3 times in a row, if you're a lineman, well, would you have any confidence? So I think that's part of it too, is I think Coach Rule and his staff are putting stress on the offensive line to perform and to run the ball in situations where you need to be able to run the ball, which I think will grow their confidence. So
what are your impressions of offensive line coach Donovan Raiola to this point?
Yeah, Donovan, I'm sorry to Dominic. I know his brother.
Oh, all good.
Donovan Raiola. I think he's great. He's intense. I think another thing I found great about him was his willingness to actually listen to somebody. That I just say, hey, coach this way to do that to me, and he was actually willing to listen and is always willing to reach out to be the best coach he can be. Almost every coach that I talked to had another coach at some time they learned techniques from that they instituted themselves. And so I think that's probably his strength is, sometimes you get people that think they know everything and they don't improve, but he seems to want to be a lifetime learner, which is how you get better at your trade. And so I think that's a big thing, but, and obviously he's full of energy. He's willing to put in the time and effort. And like I said, I don't think Coach Rule would have him on the staff if he didn't sit in on that staff, because it seems like all of his coaches are kind of built that way.
As an offensive lineman, because there's a good chance we have a true freshman starting a quarterback this year. Now, if it is Harburg, he's an upperclassman. He started some games. But as an offensive lineman, does your approach change at all if you have a freshman quarterback behind you getting the snaps versus a veteran quarterback? Does that change your approach to how you play as an O-lineman at all?
I would say it depends. That's a really good question. I would say it depends on the freshman quarterback, and it depends on the offensive lineman. Our offensive line with Sty and Zadika and Wilkes and Graham and that whole group. I mean, if you had asked us, we could have had anyone off the street play behind us. You couldn't have convinced us we couldn't have won with them playing quarterback.
Yep.
That's just the confidence level we had. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, you could say we're cocky, but yeah, we were. We expected to win. And we looked at our job as to dominate the guys across from us regardless who's behind us. That's how we looked at it. Now, I can say, being in a position where a freshman quarterback came in a game and played, Tommy Frazier in Missouri, my sophomore year, he came in and instantly in 3 plays, they're going like, well, he's going to be the starter forever here. I mean, you could just see it. So, I mean, he made a move, dove over somebody from the 6-yard line, dove in for a touchdown the first drive he was ever in a game. So there is that boost you can get from a truly great athlete. But I would tell the offensive line, hey, you should be in your own line room betting against your buddies of who's going to knock the most people off their feet in the game and worry about that and let the quarterback take care of his position.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Now, there's a lot of experienced guys, a lot of 4th-year seniors, 5th-year seniors, 6th-year seniors, guys that are like 22, 23, 24 on this offensive line. There's 7 guys who've started games in their college football career, 152 total starts across the front. Do you think it's fairly realistic to expect a pretty good jump in play and improvement from the offensive line this fall?
Oh, you never know until you actually play the game. You would think with more experience and people coming back and being in the system longer, you would think you would see a jump. It all comes down to how everybody gels. The group I named, we played together for 4 years. I mean, Graham was 1 year younger, but so our whole line's, 3 years together.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. We didn't even have to make calls, and we knew where we were going and what we were doing. And we were let loose in a system that was all about aggressiveness and speed of play and all that. So you would hope you would see a big jump in play, just because there's a resume of people that played a lot. Doesn't mean that you get that. So I would tell them to focus on doing your job, and when you get in there, be the most aggressive player you can be. And but it all comes down to working as a unit. It really does. With offensive line, if you have one weak spot, they find it.
Now, Steven sent in a comment, and I think this is per my previous interview with Joe Hutmacher, Nash's dad. Steven. Steven says we need defensive ends to get to the quarterback with a hard middle push. And again, that's going back to the more defensive line conversation I had with Joe Hutmacher. And that's a great point, Steven. If anyone else has a question, thought, concern, or otherwise, send it to 402-464-5685. Now, Zach, I'm curious, have you been inside the new gargantuan Husker weight room? And I'm curious, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it because it's a fun question to ask. How big of a role did Husker power play in your guys' success as an offensive line when you played?
Before I answer, I'm going to say yes. Inside push with a fast guy off the outside is how you get sacks and make quarterbacks get rid of the ball. That's a great point.
Yep.
And you know that as well as anyone. As far as the Husker power, it was a running joke with our group, and I'm sure you're old enough, Adam, to have heard it. Like, we used to get run out of the weight room by Boyd Epley, and at the time we had one of the largest weight rooms. Time goes by; it'll be 30 years ago. We prided ourselves. We just outworked everyone we played against, and we went in and as a unit would stay in. He'd be turning the lights out on us. I think if it wasn't all 5 of us, at least 4 of the 5 of us were on the platform for all the testing and lifting and running drills and the grading they did with that, which is kind of the pinnacle of being, as far as the workout regime from Nebraska, being on the platform. And so, it was definitely, I never even lifted weights before I came to college. And so it was a huge advantage. We all came in when we were like 250 pounds, and we all grew into, and as a lineman, we're all 310, 315, whatever. These guys are so big coming in now, but if you're not working out correctly, being big doesn't do anything for you. You have to be fast and strong and big and flexible and all the things, and not just being big. So, I would say, to have that facility from both a performance enhancing of the existing players and recruiting nationally should be a big boost for the program.
All right, man, we're going to go back to your playing days at this point, even a little bit more. And I got a couple of questions pertaining to that Orange Bowl, specifically 1995 Orange Bowl. There's the infamous picture, the famous picture of you guys in the fourth quarter. You're huddled up. It's a timeout. You're staring at the Miami D-line. They're on their knees. They're clearly exhausted. They're wiped out. So my question is, while you guys are in the huddle and you're staring at them, and you can see that they're done. They were running around all over the field, talking the smack for 3 quarters. Then all of a sudden they were done. You could just tell. What was running through your guys' heads at that moment while you stared at them during that timeout?
Oh, that we were, we had turned the ball over going into the end zone, and no one even flinched. I mean, what was going through my head is that all of our hard work had paid off, that we were going to win the football game. It's funny you always talk about that picture because the other 4 guys on the line with me are always laughing. I'm always the one talking smack to the guys on the defensive line versus
Yep.
me in the huddle. And you can tell in that picture I'm pacing up and down the line and telling them how tired they look. But if you look at the week before that, with all the articles that came out, they all talk smack, and I say, how about we just see how the game goes?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say I think that is the epitome of what the workout programs, playing as a unit, having confidence as a unit, being aggressive, listening to your coaches, and at the end of the day, talk's cheap. But I mean, by the end of that game, we're playing them, and everyone forgets we play them on their home football field.
I remember.
When we played the Orange Bowl, it was played on Miami's home field. It's no longer played there. So all the years we traveled, I mean, I would love to, like we always said, hey, come play us January 1st in Lincoln, see how you guys do.
Yep.
They wouldn't even been able to get off the bus. But it's interesting to see, this many years later, it's still what wins football games, just playing as a unit, positive attitude, hard work. Those are all things you can't replace.
All right, man. So some folks may remember this, but Brendan Stye actually switched guard spots so that he could go head-to-head with Warren Sapp of Miami. And, oh, man, it was maybe a year ago, maybe longer than that, Rob Zadika was talking on his podcast, Doc Talk Sports, about how the first couple practices, the new guard that was next to him, their steps, they weren't quite used to being next to each other, and they kind of stepped on each other until they got used to each other. What was that process for you like as the other offensive tackle? Because you were working with the new guard as well. Was there a learning process to that, or did you guys kind of just blend in pretty quickly getting ready for that Orange Bowl?
Yeah, I would say Coach Tennifer has been quoted saying this many, many times. It was a big mistake to move them around. I think Wilkes would have done fine. We probably been more in sync, just because we practiced together for the bowl game enough, and we all knew the plays. It's just, your numbering and your calls are different than you're used to when you start switching people around. I would say that it would have probably been better to leave everyone where they were. Obviously Warren was a good football player, but, Sty and I were used to playing each other. We played with each other in the pros for a couple of years as well, and we were always in sync playing next to one another. So what you may have as a tough matchup on one side makes for one side that's more dominant, just from being used to working with one another. So yeah, I would say that given that situation again, that wouldn't have happened, but at the end of the day, it worked out fine, and Sty did a good job, and at the end of the day, we used Sapp's own speed getting off the ball against him and score a couple touchdowns, which was the plan.
Yep, those 2 fullback trap plays for touchdowns. That was, I've always thought Tom Osborne gets all sorts of credit, and rightfully so. But I've always thought that one particular adjustment that he made to use Warren Sapp's explosiveness against him, which led to 2 fullback touchdowns in the game. I don't think that's been talked about enough. Somehow, some way, it hasn't been talked about enough, in my opinion. Last 2 questions I got for you, kind of fun questions. All right, 1994, Penn State's undefeated, Nebraska's undefeated. Obviously, you guys are the national champs. Okay, you guys play head-to-head on the field. How does that game go?
We kill them, and they know it.
I love it.
Cal Brady down at Jacksonville, and we talked to crap all the time. We almost got in a big brawl at one of the All-American deals late at night. They're talking smack with Kajana Carter and all those guys. But no, I mean, there was a reason why we were unanimous number one by all the coaches and everybody. And the reason we won it the next year, and the reason that we got screwed out of a championship the year before that, because that was one of the most dominant teams in college football. So I would add to those two plays that Osborne, the timing of running them, I guarantee you in the fourth quarter, at the end of the game, nobody wants to run in front of Corey Schlesinger running full speed downhill.
That's true. There's a lot of truth to that. He used to come back and work out with us in the summers when I was playing. I mean, he stepped foot on the field, and he was not one of the fastest fullbacks. He was one of the fastest running backs as we were doing our drills with each other, and he would hop on in. So I was always insanely impressed by that. Okay, and then last question I got for you, and this comes from good old Doc again. He's mentioned, and I've asked him when he's joined me on the shows, but he's mentioned on his show as well, if 94 Nebraska could somehow play 95 Nebraska, he has said that 95 Nebraska are the 94 Nebraska starters. He's their backups, the 95 guys. So he thinks 94 would win. So I got to ask you, who would win? The 94 Huskers in this hypothetical, fictitious, very fun matchup, or the 95 Huskers?
Well, I mean, 94 would completely dominate them. Everyone forgot about all the injuries and stuff we had and still won a championship. Yep. And then Beatty came in the national championship that had 9 first-round draft picks on their defense.
Yep.
And I would just say that because we spent the whole reason 95 won is because we beat them up for enough years to toughen them up. So
I like it. That's awesome.
You take the 94 team and the 95 team, and you take between those two teams, on the 94 team, there was probably 22 draft picks because we had 11 or 12 off of my team. Well, now you have all of them on one team playing the other team, right? So you remove all the 94 guys, but you still have all the 95 guys as juniors that played. I don't know how you beat that team.
I love that answer. That's an awesome, fun answer, but I love it. And it's consistent. I've asked other guys that senior year was 94 as well. It's consistent across the board. 94 would win. That's the consensus, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Zach, I appreciate you taking the time.
Deal with the 95 team was scared after watching our film from 94. Let's just say that.
I love it. I love it. Hey, man, I appreciate you taking the time to join me. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You don't think about your roof very often, but you should never take it for granted. Roofing Service Company takes every measure to provide you with the highest quality roofing solutions. Whether it's a new roof installation, roof repair, or a re-roofing project, their overall goal is to provide you with a pleasant experience and a long-lasting roof. If you have a need for siding or gutters, they're your place too. Visit roofingservicecompany.com for more info today.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 12th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let Blur Events take care of all the work so you can enjoy the day. Plus, we're just steps away from Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Okay, it's time to sell the house. How do we even begin to choose from the hundreds of realtors in town?
Easy. We make a pros list.
You mean a pros and cons list?
No, just a pros list. We need someone with pro photography to showcase the house in the best possible way, pro marketing to make sure we get maximum exposure, pro negotiations so we know we get the best price.
This is one of those times where you already know the right answer, isn't it?
You know it is. Ben Bleicher and Professional Realty Group.
Contact Ben Bleicher and the team at Professional Realty Group of Berkshire Hathaway's Home Services Ambassador. Online at prg-ne.com.
The Omaha Supernovas are back in action this Tuesday, April 23rd versus the San Diego Mojo at Viejas Arena in San Diego. The Mullen Motors pregame show with Derek Pearson and Renee Saunders starts at 8 p.m. with first serve at 9. Make sure to tune in to the next Ag Appraisal and Realty postgame show right after the match ends. Catch all the action on your flagship station, 93.7 The Ticket, and statewide on the Supernovas Radio Network.
High schoolers, unleash your creativity and learn about potential careers in broadcasting at the Digital Expressions Media Camp. Have fun, make friends, and get hands-on experience with video and radio production June 9th through the 14th at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Scholarships are available from the Nebraska Broadcasters Association, and spots are limited. Learn more at digitalexpressionscamp.com. That's digitalexpressionscamp.com.
For over 15 years, Integrated Life Choices has empowered individuals with disabilities in Lincoln and throughout Nebraska. They provide comprehensive services from group homes and independent living services to job training, ensuring fulfilling lives for those that they serve. Now, they're inviting you to join their mission. If you're passionate about making a difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities, explore rewarding career opportunities with them. Learn more about their services and apply today at www.ilc.net. Be a part of Integrated Life Choices, where your work truly changes lives. Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today. Rosie Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road.
You're listening to Adam Carriker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Jake Bachman in studio here on 93.7 The Ticket, wrapping up things here on Adam Carriker on The Ticket. Generally a day of Carriker Chronicles. Got a little bit of that and Zach Wiegert in there. So never a bad show from Adam Carriker, and that continues here. As long as I don't mess it up at the end, I suppose, as I've got a few minutes before we hand it over to happy hour. I did have, today has been a day of transfer portal updating, and now there is one that Nebraska basketball fans would be interested in. Frankie Fiddler has made his decision. Of course, he was down to Michigan State, Wisconsin, Creighton, and Nebraska. Of course, the Bellevue West grad played at Omaha, the Mavs, the last couple of years, averaged 20 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game this past year. Ultimately has chosen to play in the Big Ten for Michigan State, unfortunately. Sorry if I was keeping you on hold there. You hadn't heard the news, but Frankie Fiddler does not choose Nebraska. Would have been a good addition, obviously, as you can see with those other teams in competition for him. But Tom Izzo ultimately lands Frankie Fiddler at Michigan State. So we'll see what Nebraska does. Of course, they've put together their own recruiting or transfer portal class that looks pretty good. Of course, the latest commitment, Connor Essien over there from Wisconsin, to go along with Andrew Morgan, the big man, Rolly Worster, the point guard, and Gavin Griffiths, the Rutgers wing player. So that's still Nebraska's transfer portal class to this point. Still got a few scholarships to give out. Certainly would have wanted to give one to Frankie Fiddler, but Fiddler ultimately choosing to go to Michigan State. Of course, this also has a more of effect, at least from the outside. Some people thought that maybe you might see some of those former teammates get together with William Lyle and some other folks in the transfer portal, Chucky Hepburn in particular from Wisconsin. Maybe that still happens. Maybe they all get together at Michigan State, but we will have to see. I haven't heard too much out of the Chucky Hepburn camp the last couple of days, and we'll see with William Lyle. Nebraska's still in on him. Maybe can land him. So not the best news for Nebraska, but certainly some interesting news as a home state kid will be playing at Michigan State. Like we said, already have been dealing with that with Chucky Hepburn at Wisconsin, so it would be interesting to see the reaction that he'll get from the fan base. I always thought that was kind of fun, the booing or whatnot every time Chucky Hepburn touched the ball. But understandably, and I think at least from even Hepburn's case, understanding that that's kind of out of a respect for his level of play. If you have a home state kid go and play 3 minutes off the bench at Wisconsin, and I don't think there would be quite that reaction. But so that's kind of the latest news. Other transfer portal news, how about other just basketball news as the Big Ten is related? Illinois, of course, had a couple good years the last couple of years. Coleman Hawkins, part of that. He has decided that he's going to the NBA draft with the intention of staying there. So I think he could be a late first round pick. So we'll see if that turns out well for him. And again, some more shuffling to do out there at Illinois. Some other transfer portal news. Today, LSU's Haley Van Lith, who had been reportedly transferring to TCU, refutes that commitment. So she's still out there in the transfer portal in the women's side. And then a couple of ones that we mentioned earlier, but if you had not heard from college football today, Brennan Sullivan, who is expected to be the Northwestern quarterback starter, started last year against Nebraska for Northwestern, started a few games for them. He's entering the transfer portal. Deacon Hill, the Iowa quarterback, if you remember, started against Nebraska last year, started in place of Cade McNamara for the majority of his injuries. McNamara's back now. Deacon Hill is out the door. He'll be looking for a landing spot. And one other one that I thought was interesting is Dylan Edwards, the running back out of Colorado, about 5'9", 170, almost had as many receiving yards as he did rushing yards. We all know Colorado, if you followed that story closely, could not get a ground game going. And so, a lot of that was on the line, and the line also gave up a lot of sacks to their quarterback. So we'll have to see. But Dylan Edwards, I thought that was a surprising move to see him enter the transfer portal. For what it's worth, Colorado did, and maybe this factored into that, Colorado did add Dallin Hayden, the transfer from Ohio State, who ended up redshirting last year with about 130 yards. Of course, if you don't play in 4 games, you can redshirt. But the year before had about 500 yards for Ohio State. So a little bit of shuffling going on. Of course, every day is a new day in the transfer portal with the transfer portal open. And with that in mind, too, the NCAA Division I board has approved legislation to allow instant eligibility for all multi-time transferred. The organization announced earlier this week on Monday. So again, it used to be that you could transfer one time free, play right away. But if you're going to transfer twice, you might have to sit out a year. That's no longer the case. So it's basically everybody is the NCAA doesn't use the word contracts, or you don't have that necessarily out there. But if you wanted to think of it as a pro sports league, it just seems like every player now is on a 1-year contract necessarily with a scholarship, because everybody can move whenever they want to, as it currently stands, and not get penalized now. So the new guidelines will go into effect immediately. Transfers will have to do a few things, but that means remain in good standing, meeting academic eligibility, and progress toward degree requirements in order to receive the immediate eligibility. So anything outside of that, they should be good to go. And as we look down here, there's also some other dealings that the NCAA had decided on. The D1 board passed new rules allowing universities to help athletes find NIL contracts, which is interesting. Of course, at a certain time, as we again go through this period of change with the NCAA, with NIL, which is basically more and more, and it looks like pay for play, but we call it NIL, and basically is pay for play. Again, call it NIL. They're making some changes there. So athletes will be required to disclose any NIL deal of more than $600 to their school. The rule would be a first step, again, in the NCAA trying to create transparency for athletic departments regarding their players' financial situation. And it's all very interesting, especially that part, when you consider kind of what the goings on at the athletic department the last couple of months. Certainly Trev Alberts walking out the door, one of his long-term goals, and probably still a goal down there at Texas A&M, and for the NCAA altogether, is to have it be directly from the university, have the payment come directly from the university to the players, rather than having to go through like an 1890 initiative, or when in any of those at whatever different school, whatever it's called. That's kind of interesting as opposed to the new, Troy Dannon and the new athletic department is more willing to wear the 1890 brand, to at least play with the rules as they are now, not think down the line in the future. If all this gets passed, at some point, maybe it will just directly go through the university, but kind of just an interesting couple of months in a battle going on behind college football, which again, I can't repeat anymore. The college football thing needs to be separated with the rest of collegiate sports because it is driving these conference realignments, the crazy travel, all that stuff, and all the money's in football. There's some money, obviously, in the NCAA March Madness tournament and here and there with programs outside of football. But you just feel like there needs to be a separation there, and a lot of this mess would be a little bit cleared up. But then you go through Title IX stuff, and so there's just a lot to kind of figure out. It's a giant mess, and the NCAA at least is starting to try to patch some things together, but not all of it's going to be like you want it or like we've seen it before. If this unlimited transfer portaling continues, it's just not going to be the same type of college football, but it will be in its own way interesting because again, just look like a day like today where you have quarterbacks for starting quarterbacks transferring, big time running backs transferring, even in the basketball window. I mentioned the Franklin Fiddler news. So the portals is definitely interesting. It definitely is good for radio. I'll say that because it gives us more to talk about. And it's just kind of the new wave of college football. So we'll see how that goes. That'll wrap it up for myself and certainly for Adam Carriker, as this is Adam Carriker on the Ticket, the Carriker Chronicles. I just had a few minutes to go on by myself. I'm Jake Bachman. Once again, coming up next is Happy Hour. Rico is out once again, so Austin will jump in with Nick. That's Austin Orman and Nick Sainert coming up next on Happy Hour. They'll talk about Frankie Fiddler, some of this transfer stuff, I'm sure. Also, Nebraska football had a bit of a press conference there with Marcus Satterfield and EJ Barthel, so they might jump into that as well. That's coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket.